So welcome back everybody, welcome back to another video. So I apologize for not uploading the reviews for 2, 3, and 4 for Season 5 Volume 1. So this is basically gonna be an accumulation of everything that I was supposed to do, but in a tight little bow. So for this video, we're gonna be talking about how we got here in this situation with Will gaining powers and everything involving Vecna all the way from the beginning to the end to basically get you ready for the next volume. So if you already watched Season 5 Volume 1 of Stranger Things, or you just want to be in the know and don't really care about spoilers, this is your final warning right here in 3, 2, 1, because you have found the right place. Because this video will be the ultimate recap for Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 1 Explained. So episode 1 starts with the first 5 minutes showing what happened to Will Byers when he was kidnapped all the way back in season 1. Now, although he did put up a good chase, he was eventually captured by Vecna, who placed him on the wall where eventually Joyce and Hopper would find him. Here we get a hint on what Vecna was planning, as he implants the slug to help invade Hawkins. So more on that later, because season 5 takes place around 1 to basically almost 2 years after the conclusion of season 4, with Vecna's plan actually succeeding. He creates a rip in Hawkins with most of the rifts covered by metal plates stretching miles and a massive portal placed in the center of the town. A lot has changed after this catastrophic event, making it nearly impossible to get in or out of Hawkins without being searched by the government. Now during this time, Robin and Steve are working in the radio waves as the previous radio jock left during the whole incident. But not just that, school is back in session as the town is trying to recuperate from Vecna's curse. Now if you think that Robin and Steve had just been sitting around talking on the radio, you'd be mistaken, because they also are using it to send hidden messages to the whole team. Now the Byers are now living with the Wheelers. Dustin is really going through it right now, as everyone still believes that this happens because of Eddie Munson. You know, the guy who gave us that epic guitar solo in the Upside Down. Meanwhile, the government is still trying to find Eleven, who's been hiding with Hopper while they train and prepare for the crawl. So what specifically is the crawl? A crawl refers to an adventure style focused on mythologically exploring an area room by room, dealing with whatever you find around the way. Now in Stranger Things, this means going into the Upside Down through one portal heavily guarded by the government. This is done by using the underground tunnels created by the Demodogs back in season 2. These tunnels run all around Hawkins and are used by Eleven and the gang to move around undetected. Things start to get spooky when Holly begins getting visits from a mysterious figure named Mr.Whatsit. His visits become more frequent, which is enough to spook her teachers and give us a moment between Mike and Holly where we're introduced to Holly's D&D name, Holly the Heroic. Now this is a token given to her by Mike to help her feel safe and strong whenever she feels nervous or scared. Now the team prepares to begin their crawl. Now this is actually going to be the 38th crawl into the Upside Down, but they're missing Dustin, who goes MIA after poking the bear with the jocks who attacked him at Eddie's grave. Dustin refuses to stop wearing his Hellfire shirt because he knows the truth about Eddie and won't let anyone think he died a murderer. Unfortunately, Dustin pushes back a little too hard and the jocks attack him at the graveyard, leaving him kinda incapacitated while the team tries to scramble and try to figure out how to work the tech that he created, and leaving it to Steve did not work so well, so it had to be a collective thing where everybody tried to figure out how all of Dustin's inventions. They do have Will, but Joyce does not allow Will to really be involved or hands-on with a lot of those things, even though he was part of the creation of everything that Dustin has made. More on that later. Now you would think the Upside Down would be the most dangerous place, but it's just as bad as in the real world, not only because of Demogorgons, but because the government has set a secret lab where they conduct experiments while waiting to capture Eleven. During the operation, the crawl, Hopper successfully makes it into the convoy heading into the Upside Down, but is then attacked by a Demogorgon. Things get strange when the Demogorgon decides to change course and heads towards the Wheeler house with the intentions of kidnapping Holly Wheeler. We know this because Will Byers starts having visions where he sees through the eyes of others, including the Demogorgons. Even though he's no longer controlled by the Mind Flayer, he still can tap into it, the feelings and frustrations of the Demogorgons as well as Vecna, and can see through the eyes of the potential victims that Vecna is trying to abduct. Now Will's connection sends Nancy and Eleven to the Wheeler house, but the tunnels are too slow, so they had to take a car. This alerts the government, who are constantly monitoring and surveilling all the streets on Hawkins with cameras to find Eleven. This would lead them to the Wheeler house, which is now in ruins after the Demogorgon attacks, leaving both the parents hospitalized, Holly missing. Nancy stays behind while Eleven follows the Demogorgon into the Upside Down, where she finds a very unhappy Hopper, who specifically told her not to enter the Upside Down. But now on the other side of town, Will tries to understand his connection to the Mind Flayer, knowing he could help the team. Joyce is terrified of losing him again, as she did not see him for 12 hours after he first went missing, refusing to let him put himself in danger. Eventually, Will stands up for himself with Robin's help, as she explains his abilities are like a radio receiver, being able to pick up signals while Vecna, the Mind Flayer, or even Demogorgons are connected or around him. They necessarily don't have to be near him, they just have to be in the Upside Down around the same area as him. Now, because Joyce is very overprotective of Will and Robin had to test the theory behind her back, and it did work, allowing Will to see through Holly's eyes in identifying Vecna's next victims. While this is all going on, at the hospital, the Wheeler siblings sneak in to see Karen to learn about Mr.Whatsit, leading to the reveal that his real name is Henry, aka Vecna, aka Patient 1. But why the name Mr.Whatsit? If you watch the dinner scene, you would notice that Holly's reading A Wrinkle in Time. Alright, so I did not read A Wrinkle in Time, I just watched the movie, but I did, take the time to make a quick summary of what happens, okay, and how it connects or relates to Stranger Things with Holly and everybody else. So A Wrinkle in Time is about a young girl named Meg Murray, her brilliant younger brother Charles Wallace, and their friend Calvin O'Keefe. Now, they go on this cosmic adventure to rescue Meg and Charles's father, a scientist who has been trapped on a distant planet by the force called It. Or Dark Force called It, guided by these mysterious celestial beings, Mrs. Whatsit, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Which. Now, they travel through a time-space using a tessering, or a tesseract. Now, among the way, Meg learns to trust her own strength, especially love to confront the darkness and save her father. Now, in this case, it's actually inverted with Mr. Whatsit being It, who is the Dark Force using A Wrinkle in Time, or the Demogorgon, to rip a portal into the Upside Down to kidnap Holly instead of her parents, bringing her into a distant planet or realm, which is the Upside Down. Good news is that Dustin is back from his nap in the graveyard after fighting 4 jocks. What a Chad, guys. So, we got Dustin, Steve, Jonathan on one team, Will, Joyce, and Robin at the radio station, Mike and Nancy uncovering Mr. Whatsit's true identity, and Eleven and Harper in the Upside Down. But let's not forget that episode 2 reveals that Holly was being taken to the Creel house towards the end. Now, but things are shaking up and we're only halfway through this recap. If you've made it this far, type W in the comments so I can know who the real ones are. Now, things keep escalating with Eleven and Harper running into a literal wall. Eleven believes Holly is trapped in there, but they eventually get ambushed by the feds using like this sonic weapon that disables powers for beings such as Eleven, which would probably affect the Demogorgon's Mind Flayer and even Vecna. But we see towards the end that it kind of affects him, but he's too strong, so he just destroys the machine anyways, and Demogorgons just take over. But back to what I was saying. With Will's insight, the team pinpoints the next child to be kidnapped. Now, to prepare for this, Murray, who's always anti-government because he just doesn't believe all the stuff that they do is right, or he even helped get rid of the government in Hawkins before, he steps in as an undercover delivery driver, which he uses to smuggle equipment past the government checkpoints, because there is one in every which way, and he has to hide them very cleverly to get him to whoever requests something that he can possibly try to get his hands on. And one of those things being delivered is Nancy's ring that Jonathan asked Murray to get, obviously a tracker for the Demogorgon to help them track it into the Upside Down from the other side, which kind of does work, but they had to kind of improvise as they eventually end up in there themselves. Anyways, as they prepare to save the next target, which they continuously call dipshit Derek, the team execute a wild plan that mostly works until Derek wakes up, alerting the Demogorgon, because now the Demogorgon knows that he's in a different place because he is connected to Vecna, so he knows exactly where he is. So he eventually turns around from being chased by the team to Derek's location, which brings us to the hilarious scene where Derek shouts at Robin to eat my fat one scene. Will potentially controls the Demogorgon enough to stall it, but eventually wound it and make him run away into the Upside Down as it could not grab Derek. The team chases it into the Upside Down like I mentioned earlier, only to hit the same wall as Eleven did, trapping Steve's car because they hit it head on, because Steve and Dustin have been at each other's necks and throats the whole time. Now, meanwhile, Holly receives a mysterious letter from Henry asking for help, despite telling her not to leave the house. Now, if you haven't noticed, Holly's outfit mirrors Alice from Alice in Wonderland, symbolizing her journey into a strange world. Now, this leads to the realization that Holly is trapped inside Vecna's mind, even though she is also trapped in the Upside Down, where we get Max's shocking return. So at the end of season 4, Max might have escaped death when Eleven basically jump-started her heart, but she could not escape her coma mentally because of a failed attempt at the very last second when her song ended, because we all know that Lucas visits occasionally and he always plays her music hoping that she'll come back to him. Season 5 explains that to us that Max has been trapped in the same place as Holly. She had an opportunity to escape when she was following the sound of her favorite song by Kate Bush, but when she was so close to the finish line and hit that gate, her mind closed. The reason why is because the gate was closed due to the song being stopped right at the moment of her appearing at the gate. Now, her being so into Vecna's mind alerts him as she has to cross through his mind to get to hers. This leads to her being endlessly chased by Vecna until she found a safe place, possibly a place that holds a very dark memory in his life and he refuses to relive. Now, with Max and Holly trying to figure out how to escape, Will and the team figure out that Vecna isn't the only one after the kids, but the government has also decided to take the kids to use as bait to lure out 11, who they assume is the one behind everything, but instead they got something much worse. They basically just stockpile all the kids in one place, underestimating the power of Vecna possesses. But the team devises a plan to use the tunnel to try to get as much kids out of there before the government facility becomes a battle zone. Now the plan is to use Derek to gain the trust of the other children to save them from Mr.Whatsit. But the plan gets out of control when the pipes break, alerting the soldiers. Although some of the children did make it down with Lucas, this led to the capture of Mike, Will, and Joyce, and as well as Derek and a few other children. With Vecna's arrival, this led to the decimation of the whole government facility, with multiple Demogorgons, with even the general himself getting his point across. But to this attack, he sparked the fire that activated Will's full potential, being able to stop the Demogorgons and prevent the deaths of Lucas, Mike, Robin, and Joyce. But since I've been doing stuff out of order, this doesn't end here, as 11 and Harper break into the government's facility in the Upside Down. Now before this, Dustin's team does get in contact with Harper since they're already in the Upside Down. Dustin would come to the realization that the wall is a giant circle, and at the center of this wall is the Hawkins lab, ground zero to where all this started. But the plan couldn't continue because during this time, Harper and 11 assumed Vecna was actually being held in the facility, but things took a surprising twist when they discovered that the person inside Fed's care was actually 11's sister 8, who we haven't seen since season 2. Now I assume that they were using her powers as a cloaking device to prevent any monsters from finding or attacking the base, but that's just my opinion or my theory on that. Things have definitely ramped up as both sides are gaining power as the final battle gets closer. Now thank you to everyone who has made it to the end of this video, as this is going to be one of my longest videos so far on this channel, and I look forward to making more fun videos like this. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, as it will increase our chances to survive the Upside Down.